What's up, DramaCasters? Get ready, because the news cycle is absolutely wild today. We've got the MAGA movement in a frenzy after the horrific murder of Charlie Kirk, leading to shocking government censorship. Then, we're diving deep into the hypocrisy of cancel culture, with a Fargo City employee facing heat for a controversial post about Kirk's death. Plus, we're breaking down the new Trump-era cancel culture and how it's impacting media and private employees. And finally, a Democratic pollster drops a bombshell, drawing a straight line from woke culture to the Charlie Kirk slaying. You do not want to miss this. Hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss a second. The right's cancel culture is a dangerous hypocrisy. The MAGA movement is in an uproar following the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, leading to unprecedented government actions that eerily resemble the very cancel culture they've long decried. This situation highlights a stark double standard, where criticism of a conservative figure is now being met with official censorship, a far cry from the free speech principles they supposedly champion. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, leading what's being called the War Department, has reportedly fired individuals for glorifying Kirk's killing, a move that raises serious questions about restricting speech about private citizens, especially when the glorification is unclear and could simply be criticism of Kirk's own controversial views. This isn't just an isolated incident. The Homeland Security Department has taken action against staffers, including a FEMA employee placed on administrative leave for posting critically about flags being lowered in Kirk's honor. The U.S. Coast Guard, Secret Service, and Veterans Affairs Department have also reportedly taken disciplinary measures against those perceived as not sufficiently mourning Kirk. This selective outrage is particularly galling when contrasted with past instances where similar figures faced little consequence for their own inflammatory remarks, or when politicians made light of violent acts against others. Hypocrisy is palpable. The group that once warned against cancel culture is now actively canceling those who don't exhibit the desired level of reverence for Charlie Kirk. This extends to private employers, who are reportedly firing staff for seemingly innocuous comments or memes about Kirk's death. Even the Washington Post has come under fire for firing columnist Karen Ataya, accused of gross misconduct for relatively mild comments about violence and paraphrasing Kirk's own words. Critics argue this demonstrates a worrying trend of authoritarianism, where government power is used to punish protected speech. And that's just the beginning of the hypocrisy. Stay tuned as we uncover how a local Fargo employee is now caught in this very same cancel culture storm. Cancel culture hypocrisy hits home in Fargo. The right wing, once the loudest critic of cancel culture, now finds itself grappling with its own version of it, particularly in the wake of Charlie Kirk's tragic murder. A Fargo City employee is reportedly facing consequences for a social media post stating Kirk won't be missed, sparking a debate about the nuances of free speech, political commentary, and the evolving definition of cancel culture. This situation forces a re-examination of what cancel culture truly is, the bullying of institutions to enforce cultural preferences without broad societal consensus. While society generally agrees on condemning extreme viewpoints like calls for a new Holocaust, the commentary surrounding figures like Kirk, who is known for his divisive rhetoric, falls into a gray area. The article argues that criticizing Kirk's influence or stating he won't be missed, even if callous, reflects a view shared by many Americans and shouldn't result in job loss. This contrasts sharply with the right's fervent push to canonize Kirk, awarding him the Presidential Medal of Freedom and lowering flags in his honor, actions the author deems crass politics. The piece highlights the irony of the right demanding reverence for Kirk, while he himself was known for puncturing the myth of sainthood around other figures. The core argument is that while Kirk's murder was a tragedy, it shouldn't erase criticism of his polarizing legacy or lead to the ruin of individuals for expressing such views. The author suggests that holding individuals accountable for expressing critical opinions about a controversial figure, especially when that figure's career was built on provocation, is a form of censorship that mirrors the very cancel culture the right claims to oppose. But the fallout doesn't stop there. We're next investigating how this culture war is now impacting major media outlets and private sector jobs. The Trump era brings a new wave of cancel culture. In what feels like a chilling echo of Orwellian dystopia, the United States is witnessing a new form of censorship, not from the state, but from the private sector, amplified by the rhetoric of the Trump era. Following the assassination of influencer Charlie Kirk, numerous individuals have faced severe professional consequences for comments deemed celebratory, insensitive, or critical of his polarizing viewpoints. This trend is starkly illustrated by the case of Washington Post columnist Karenna Taya, who claims she was unfairly fired over measured blue sky posts. The Post accused her of unacceptable conduct and endangering colleagues, charges she vehemently denies, stating she exercised restraint and condemned hatred. Her comments, which touched on gun violence and race, included paraphrasing Kirk's controversial remarks about Black women's intelligence. The article suggests that in the current climate, not mourning Kirk, even while condemning violence, can be enough to trigger employer backlash. The situation is compounded by the stark contrast with how similar events involving political figures on the left have been handled. For instance, Republican Senator Mike Lee's controversial remarks following the assassination of Minnesota lawmakers Melissa Hortman and her husband were met with far less backlash. The piece points out that President Trump's response to the Hortman killing was brief, and he later dismissed calls to the governor. In contrast, Trump swiftly ordered flags lowered for Kirk and promised vengeance, highlighting a partisan double standard. This environment, the article contends, pressures media outlets and private companies to become less critical of the administration, creating a chilling effect on free speech that permeates workplaces across America. And this culture war is now being linked to political strategy. Get ready for a Democratic pollster's explosive take on woke culture and its connection to recent political violence. Woke culture is directly linked to political violence, says pollster. As the debate rages over who bears responsibility for political violence, new polling data suggests that independent voters increasingly view Democrats and their woke cancel culture as more threatening to critics and the party's own standing. This sentiment has gained traction in the wake of the alleged left-wing critic assassination of Charlie Kirk in Utah. Democratic pollster John Zogby, along with his son Jeremy Zogby, has released findings indicating that independents perceive the Democratic Party as too woke, overly focused on attacking President Donald Trump, and generally elitist. While Democrats receive credit for supporting working-class families and fighting for social justice, their emphasis on woke policies is seen as a significant weakness that alienates voters and potentially stifles free speech. Zogby directly connects the shouting down of people on our campuses to the ultimate act of violence, stating, "One can draw a straight line between the shouting down of people on our campuses and then ultimately the shooting of someone that is disagreed with on a college campus." The Zogby's research suggests a path forward. Republicans could better connect with the middle class, while Democrats need to tone down their anti-Trump rhetoric and reassess their woke agenda. The poll highlights that the Democrats' approach to woke politics is not resonating, leading to historically low approval ratings among independents. Conversely, Republicans are seen as having a stronger message on crime and safety, an agenda that Charlie Kirk himself championed. The analysis implies that the Democrats' focus on woke issues, which has evolved from a call for sensitivity into a perceived bludgeon, is alienating a broad base of voters. That's a wrap on today's bombshells. But don't go anywhere. We've got a lightning round recap and a full call to action coming up next. And that's a wrap on today's explosive news. We saw the MAGA movement caught in a cancel culture hypocrisy after Charlie Kirk's murder, a Fargo employee facing heat over a controversial post, the rise of Trump-era censorship impacting jobs, and a pollster linking woke culture directly to political violence. Don't miss a single update. Like this video, subscribe to DramaCast, hit that notification bell, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Follow us on all social platforms for more drama.